Hello again, YouTube friends. Big welcome to you again this morning. Time for episode 6 of my book, Life After Depression, written by me. I got positive feedback from having read it to you rather than just having put it on as an audio. So I will continue and read episode 6 to you that way today. So grab a coffee or tea, curl up somewhere comfy, and let's get into episode 6. While we're talking about feeling better, this would be a good time to discuss that time when you have finally made the decision to seek help, see a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and get onto medication and therapy. This is not a quick fix. Be prepared to go through a long healing process that could take quite a while. But remember that you won't feel this bad for the next year, even if it takes a year to get better. You will feel a little bit better every day, every week, every month, until you feel very much better. During this time, you need to give yourself permission to sometimes feel less than perfect. Don't push yourself to rejoin the social set that you might have withdrawn from until you are completely ready to do so. Don't push yourself to get back to work. If you've had to stop until you are sure that you can confidently go back to work and go through a day without an episode happening, don't force yourself back. Throwing yourself back into work and life too soon can be like trying to walk barefoot with a gaping wound under your foot. Remember these words: give yourself permission. Allow this principle to apply to days when you feel tired. Have a rest. Days when you feel a bit low, allow yourself to feel that way and do something kind for yourself, like sitting in the sun or going somewhere that's special to you and just being alone, soaking up nature, whatever it is that makes you feel better. Some days you may feel like you're not getting better. Give yourself permission to feel that way without being too hard on yourself. Tomorrow will be a better day. This is your healing process taking place. You don't need anyone else's permission to walk this journey. You walk it in the way that suits you best. Try making this a rule in your life. Even for future years, live for the moment, live for the day. Even after you've healed and you find yourself having a bad day, don't dwell on it. Just acknowledge it. Give yourself permission to feel that way for that day and move on. After I got divorced, thinking this would definitely take a major part of my depression away, I did many things to alleviate the way I felt, always looking for something to make me happy. I even got involved with a married man. It resulted in heartache, but once again, I learned a lesson from that too. Goodness, my life seems to be full of lessons. I will never again be so quick to judge those who err. There is no doubt in my mind that it is morally wrong to become involved with another person's spouse, even if it is as innocent as phone calls, text messages, etc. It definitely is a recipe for heartbreak. Don't judge those who find themselves in that situation though. I know it's not a place we purposely put ourselves in. It happens without one even realizing it's happening. You open your eyes and you're involved. You're having an affair. You are a mistress. Be careful not to say that will never happen to me about any situation. I said that. I used to be very self-righteous about such things. thinking if I ever found myself in such a situation, I would turn around and I would walk away from it. In the days when I said that, I didn't know what it felt like to be really vulnerable and in desperate need of attention, no matter whom the attention was from or how right or wrong it was. But I was still in the middle of a life of depression. Surely I would eventually find something that worked, something or someone who could make me feel happy. I would just have to keep on looking. After all, this was my problem. Only I could fix it. I was living on my own and trying to come to terms with this new, unfamiliar lifestyle. I could do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I could make my own decisions. I could go out when I wanted to and come home when I wanted to. Life was going to get better at last. At last, I was going to be in control of my life. Not so. I was no more in control then than I had been on the day I was born. All those new options I had made absolutely no difference to my life. I felt myself sinking again. I was really going deep, and I didn't think I would be able to get back out this time. I fought against it, tooth and nail, but as always, it eventually conquered me. Once more, I took to my bed, not showering or getting up for days. I pretended to be sick with flu in order to stay off work. I put the answering machine on to ward off phone calls. In brackets, this was obviously before cell phones. But I could only pull the wool over my loving and caring sister's eyes for just so long. As soon as she discovered I was having another depression episode, she had me out of my bed in a flash and took me to stay with her and her kind husband once more. She fed me, ran wonderful scented baths, talked to me, and generally pampered me for the next few days, as always, making me feel special. They told me to forget about everything and just to get well again, and the storm would pass. It always did, they said. What patience those two had with me. I'm forever grateful. But this time felt different. When I was right at the bottom of the hellhole, not even having the energy to kill myself beyond ceasing eating and starving myself to death, something started to change. I felt like I was starting to give up, really give up. Now I know that probably sounds really crazy coming from someone who appeared to have given up on so many occasions in the past. But I'd never really given up before, not in this way. I'd always sought and found a remedy just in time. I'd always managed to regain control of my life. This time I felt like I was really giving up. I recall lying in my sister's bed and feeling intense anger and rebelliousness towards God about my life. I was furious with him for allowing this to happen to me again. Didn't I deserve any happiness? Didn't I deserve some respite from this demon that had taken over my mind? I tried and I tried and I tried to rid myself of this awful dark cloud hanging over my head day and night, week in, week out, year in, year out. I was finished. I'd had enough. This was not fair. Then something happened that I can't explain. I didn't have a vision. I've heard about people having visions. I would imagine one would see something or someone. I never experienced anything like that. I didn't see anything. It was more a feeling of a presence. Strangely enough, even though under normal circumstances I am skeptical when I hear people tell such stories, I never questioned what was happening to me at that moment. I just knew that at last, help was on the way. I felt extreme anger. Even with this feeling of a presence around me, it still wasn't enough to take away my anger. Nothing could lessen my absolute fury and resentment that I was feeling in that moment. My anger was directed at everything that made up my life, everything that made me who I am. To put into words what happened is so difficult for me, but I need to in order to share it with you. So I'll try my best to relive in words what happened to me. I felt like, amidst that anger, bitterness, and resentment I was experiencing, I literally took my life in total in my hands and threw it down into the corner towards where I felt that the presence was. I shouted, I swore, I can't do anything with this mess. Yes, I swore out loud. I want no more responsibility for any of this. I'm done battling through each day. None of this is my fault. I refuse to feel like this for another day. Obviously, I can't remember all the exact words that I used, but I know I let out all of my pent-up feelings of injustice and cruelty I felt at having been inflicted with this monster. I shouted. I swore. I cried. I cried from deep, deep down, from a place that I didn't know existed. I felt a lightness starting to come over me very, very slowly. Something in me said, don't think about it anymore. Don't think about tomorrow. It's not your business anymore. You've thrown it away. You've given it away. Just leave it there now. There's no more that you can do about it. You've given it away. A feeling of peace began to seep through me slowly, and I began to cry. A different cry to how I'd ever cried before. I cried from the bottom of my being. I wept for all the sadness, all the guilt, all the longing, and all the loneliness. I don't know how long I cried for. It felt like a very long time. When I'd finished crying, it felt like a purging had taken place, a cleansing of sorts. This is all very difficult for me to explain, to put into words. And I hope the words that I am using are making it just a little clearer what I did go through, what I experienced. The next feeling was one of relief. I felt relieved that I no longer had to worry about the mess that my life was in. I no longer had to ponder over my choices and decisions when I didn't know what was really best for me. I'd constantly kept my conscious mind so busy in the past, trying to make logical sense out of everything. I'd never given my subconscious mind the chance to have a say. And what good had it done me anyway? None whatsoever. Perhaps you're wondering about the wiseness of my decision. Before that, I would have questioned it as well. But all of a sudden, it became clear to me that all my battling, my analysis, my self-hatred was all for nothing. If it had achieved anything at all, it would be worth it. But it hadn't. I was no better off with my daily battle with depression than I had been before. Now, this was my experience, and I don't expect others to experience what I did. But perhaps you can see a thread coming through here as I read this to you. Perhaps you can see that it's not necessary to take all this responsibility for our lives. Perhaps you can find some way to give over your problem to God or whoever it is that you believe in. But I mean, really give it over. This is such a fine line. Not to become non-caring about your life, but to know that you do not have the power to make this right, so why keep battling to do it? Leave it to someone or something else who knows what's best for you. Having just read that last section to you, it feels to me that I didn't capture in words as well as I could have the feeling that came over me that day. That day that I say that I felt a presence in the room where I was. Because I don't want this to sound sort of like I was perhaps hallucinating or imagining things or whatever. I was completely in the right frame of mind. My sister had been looking after me. I was lying on her bed and we had just been talking and things were normal as they could possibly be with me feeling the way I was. And as I lay there on the bed, it was sort of across there in the left-hand corner of the room. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything or anybody. And I don't know how else to explain it, but there was a being of some sort, a presence of some sort in that corner of the room. And I just had this feeling that with this anger, that I could take my life up into my hands and just throw it down at the feet, or down at the bottom, it was, of this presence that I was feeling. And I don't know if my book fully explains what I experienced. The purging that I felt when I started to cry. Now, I don't know anything about people ridding themselves of anything, and you know, I've heard stories about it. I don't know anything about that. But when I started to cry, it came from deep down here. And I felt like poison was coming out. I cried that hard. And the more I read this book, the more I know that I perhaps should have taken more time to try to explain this, because I want you to know it was real. It was real what happened. There was no imaginings going on. There was no hallucinations, no dreaming. there was no drug-induced feelings. It was real. Something was in that area where I was, and I think it was coming to my rescue. I wanted to add that. And one day I'm probably going to rewrite this book, because where I ended it off, I did sort of end it off making it sound like, well, just by the name of the book, Life After Depression, gives you the idea there was never any more depression. Well, that was sort of egg in my face anyway. So there are lots of things I would change about the book, but I wanted to be more specific about that. And I hope you stayed to listen to this, because that was so important to me. It was such a huge, huge change in my life. Thanks for staying. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I have a feeling that the next episode will be our last one, and I look forward to reading that to you. Until then, take care. Bye for now.